Hello, welcome to Stretford, Paddock, Manchester United 0, Manchester City 2. I'm joined by Stephen Howson. I'm not even going to ask you a question to start with, but just what was that? That's a question, but just give me what your thoughts on that game, Mark.
Shit, that joke is what it was.
Yeah.
There was an opportunity here to react. The last time that we, as a fan base, obviously saw United playing at home was when Liverpool beat us 5-0, right? Liverpool beat us 5-0. You want to see a bit of reaction from it. And it didn't feel like we was building towards any sort of grand plan here, did it? It was like we happened upon a three-at-the-back system against Spurs, and that went quite well. And then we persisted with it throughout Atlanta and rolled it out again against City without any real thoughts to the intricacies of playing against Manchester City and what problems could arise from that. You're playing a back three against a team who don't play a striker, for one. You're also still trying to play out like you're playing 4-2-3-1. You're having zero success doing it. And this, for me, is where it starts to go from, the players didn't perform there, or that player, this player, into the management have got to fix up here, or, is it time? They're clearly not capable of fixing some things that are very, very obvious errors. I think for the first 5 or 6 attempts at playing out, they were not just unsuccessful, they were unsuccessful in our third. Completely capitulating, clueless, just kicking it to City players, essentially.
Yep.
And then the crowd gives an ironic cheer when we try and kick it long, and Ronaldo actually pulls it down or flicks it on. Or whatever he did, we retained possession from it. And you're like... Why is it? And then there was confusion then a few times. We're going long or are we coming short? And the players didn't seem to know. That for me has to start with the management. If my lads were struggling playing out, we have a plan A and a plan B and a plan C for if we're struggling playing out. I don't get to scout my opposition, so I have to wait until we come and play out. What formation? What are they trying to do? All right, okay, yeah, flip to plan B. And that not once did you see United 2 years ago playing against Manchester City in the League Cup. We got destroyed by not playing out. The simple reason we lost that leg of I think it was the League Cup semi-final, was because we couldn't play out, and we give them the ball back.
3-1, wasn't it, at home?
And Bernardo Silva completely tore us a new one because we was losing the ball in our third. 2 years ago, we haven't learnt from that. Now, there's been progress in plenty of areas, and this is one that hasn't progressed, and this is one that's absolutely... people want to attribute everything. Ronaldo went through one-on-one and missed, that's all it is. De Gea just didn't catch it, or Bay kicks it in his own net. All of that, that's all his fault. Now, they're not, are they? These are things that are unfortunate happenings in a football game, but there's some things that absolutely are on the management. Team selection, absolutely the biggest one, perhaps, which I think he got wrong. And then things like, what is our structure playing out from the back? And the playing out from the back for me is systematic of the entire house of cards of Manchester United at the moment, because it's abject, not good enough. And it's not only is it not good enough, we all know how predictably bad it's about to be.
We were saying that before the game, just how we know we're going to struggle to keep the ball. We know that City are going to press, and McTominay and Fred aren't going to be able to pass around them. I got to like 30 minutes in, and I remember saying, and then catching myself saying, Fred and McTominay can't pass to each other because they aren't good enough at controlling the ball. They haven't got the vision, and then when they give it to someone, they're just giving it to someone else who can't control the ball, who doesn't have vision. And I'm sat there thinking, I'm telling our central midfielders not to pass to each other. How is that a world we can live in?
Up until they scored, which was 17 minutes in or something along those lines, was it?
7.
7?
Yeah.
I thought it was 20.
No.
All right, no man. Up until
then.
All right, maybe about 20 minutes in, it felt like. When we were trying to play out, it was so slow. It was so laboured. There was so many extra touches in there.
Yeah.
And then after they'd scored, about 10 minutes after they scored, United decided to go one touch. And guess what? It worked. And you're like, you fucks, you could have done this 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Why are we only now speeding the tempo up? The lack of tempo makes us so predictable.
Do you think, and again, we'll come back to the management because I think that's a big question at the end that we can get to. But in terms of the actual playing it out from the back, do you think that's a confidence thing as much as anything? Because I don't necessarily imagine Ollie saying take 2 touches every time. Make sure you take every single second, and sometimes take longer than you have so you get dispossessed.
And then just kick it to a City.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Do you think we're seeing a lack of tactics, plus now the lowest confidence this team has had under Ole, and together it looks completely clueless.
But yes, I do.
Yeah.
There's the bottom line of that. But for a bit more nuance, we're seeing peaks and troughs of it in games. Like sometimes United turn it on and go one touch, and we did it today. Not a lot, admittedly, but we did do it today where you go one touch under press, and we look fantastic doing it. And then inevitably it breaks down, and we go back to being slow and ponderous again. You just think the tempo, right? Tempo's so important in football, and especially in like big matches. Knowing how to control the tempo. Was it about the hour mark? City decided they were just going to have it for about 100 passes.
Yeah, because after the second half started, we looked pretty decent for 15 minutes. Sancho was getting on the ball. We had more of it in their half, and then they just went, we're just going to have it for the rest of the game now.
They didn't look to penetrate. No. They just looked to move it from side to side, have a bit of a rondo, switch it, have a bit of a rondo, switch it.
Yeah.
And they didn't have any desire to go forward. Now, I don't know if that's on-field leadership. I don't know if that's Pep's orders. Whatever it was executed fantastically well.
Yeah.
Because what they did was take the sting out of the game. They killed any momentum that was creeping in United's favour, which it was at the time.
It didn't let us have any emotion. There was no getting the crowd into it. There was no derby feel to it. They literally, like when you're playing someone on FIFA and they're 2-0 up and they just pass it around the back. You're like, you're not even trying. It's like, I know I'm not trying. I'm trying to win. And there's never that chance of, come on, coming from the back. I mean, obviously I wasn't at the game, but I can't imagine or think of a time where you'd be on your feet screaming, come on, like excited feeling.
In the first half.
But I mean, from that 60th minute onwards, we've come from 2 goals behind. We've seen 2-2 draws. We've seen 3-2 draws, but we never even got chance to have that excitement to get the crowd going because City just completely nullified us. We had 2 shots, none on target. Second half, 1 shot on target all game. We have to talk about the manager. We can come to if he does go, we can get into all the good things he's done and all that. But at the moment, we're seeing a team and a manager that isn't working anymore, is it?
No, and I think ultimately it's looking more and more like he's going to have to go to get the reaction out of the players. And I think it might end up being, look, there's things that he's not been able to change. And I think his job up until now, as the Glazers kind of show us, with the way they respond to not getting top 4, is that United managers have to get top 4. Now, I think some of the benefit and positive things Ollie's done is he's changed the perception and expectation of the club to the point where top 4 wouldn't be good enough this season.
No.
Now, not only would have the expectations shifted to be a bit higher, our performances are a lot lower. When you get the shiny things, we want to see shiny results, and maybe you also want to see shiny performances. Now, if you was picking up a load of results, because Chelsea are playing poorly at the moment, but they are picking wins up, the horrible bastards. If we was picking up results, you'd be like, we might get the hang of this, and it might be okay, but we're getting what we deserve at the moment. The performances are terrible. The results are terrible. And there's things that are happening. As I said earlier, people like to a proportion blame quite often people think like, people honestly, I think people genuinely believe that if you put Pep at Newcastle, he'd win the league with them.
Yeah. He
will get relegated fast as a motherfucker if he got that Newcastle job. But he's the perfect guy for Manchester City and the squad and the players that they've got. And every chance he'll win the league with them this season. What Solskjaer's done up until now was a good job. Not perfect. Should have won the Europa League. Could have done better at other times.
Yeah.
But he'd done enough at least that it would be weird to have sacked him
at
even
the end
for
of last
losing.
Season. Yeah.
Now this season, partly because of him, partly because of his signings, the expectations have shifted. And like I said, not only have the expectations probably got higher, the performances have dipped. So the gap in between where we want to be and expect to be and where we actually are is vast. And there's things happening in games which you go, this is 100% down to the management. And unfortunately, as I said right at the very start, there was supposed to be a reaction to the Liverpool game today. You've had Liverpool and you've had City, and you've been shithouses the both times, the players. And it will be the manager that carries the can for this. You're not sacking Bruno. You're not sacking Maguire. You're not.
You're certainly not sacking all of them.
Yeah, you're not, because the monetary value associated with them and the way the Glazers run this football club, you're not. I mean, you don't anyway. No football club sacks their players.
No.
Even Mendy's not been sacked yet, as far as I'm aware. So, what?
You're right, technically.
So, the things that are down to Ollie, he's going to carry the can for, and I think it's probably time that United have to freshen this up. The problem with that is it's reactionary again.
Yep.
There is zero succession plan. We've shown that by the fact that last couple of weeks, the sort of briefings coming out United is like, we're 100% behind Ollie, we're not even talking to anybody else. If that's true, you take that at face value, you go, well, that's fucking stupid. You could call it loyalty or whatever you wanted to call it. It took us 8 years post-Sir Alex to appoint a director of football and a technical director. One of the primary jobs of those guys is the transfers. One of the primary jobs of those guys is also going to be reappointing and finding and interviewing and selecting the next manager.
Yeah.
When we hired Jose Mourinho, we went in one direction, which was a different direction that we'd been under Louis, which was probably a different direction that we were planning on going in Moyes. If you keep crisscrossing a crossroads, you don't make any progress whatsoever. Now, one of the reasons why I wanted to give Ollie time, because of the job he'd done up until summer, is because he'd moved us along a road, moving on some of the older heads that probably weren't good enough to come along this journey. People like Smalling, people like Ashley Young and Fellaini and Sanchez, and he'd re-sculpted the sort of nature of the squad. And he'd done it quite well. Now, it wasn't perfect, and under his watch, there's obviously been issues with balancing the squad. You know, this midfield is not as good as Leicester's midfield, for example. People really want to judge a team by its ceiling, not its floor. But it's your floor that's going to cost you mistakes in games. And that's what we're seeing time and time again. And unfortunately, the floor for us right now, Harry Maguire might be it. Harry Maguire might be the worst player in the United shirt at the moment. He's terrible. And I put it on Twitter at half-time. The only bit of leadership I've seen today was Fred trying to get everyone to run. Just some sort of show us you give a fuck, which is a minor thing, isn't it? But it matters. Yeah. And he tried to run off the pitch and he tried to grab Bay, and Bay sort of got rid of him, and Maguire just looked at him, and I just thought, at least Fred's trying, and Fred's one of the worst players in the United shirt consistently. Yeah. But here he is, like, showing he gives a fuck. Like, if you're down in a Manchester derby at home, it's a minor thing and it doesn't impact the result in the slightest. It's half-time. Run off the fucking pitch. Yeah. Show us that you're gonna go work on this rather than just trudge off being all fucking sorry for yourself. And so many times United concede. That 11 goals we conceded between Leicester and Liverpool, about 10 of them were fucking Harry Maguire's fault. Yeah. And you see our captain just sort of trudging around. Mate, just think back to what Roy Keane would have been like conceding 5 at home. People would have been getting gripped. Yeah, coming out with black eyes and stuff. Physically gripped, yeah.
So looking forward then, like you sort of said, you don't really see a way forward with Solskjaer at the moment. How do you think, your prediction here, we will go about this?
I think
end of the season, this week? What do you think will happen?
I think they'll probably persist with him out of sheer incompetence.
Incompetence in that he has to be sacked because it's so bad, or incompetence that we just don't have a plan afterwards, so we just be too scared to do anything?
Yeah,
the second one.
Yeah, I think they won't have a plan. So the easier thing to do is nothing.
Do you think they know who they want next?
No.
This is the worry, innit? Like, you think Solskjaer's decision-making is bad and his tactics are bad. We know the people above him are bad. We know that they don't know what they're doing.
The fucking talk like Ed Woodward might continue on until, what was it, April?
It's gone full Jordan Belfort. I'm not fucking leaving. It's horrible.
Honestly, the best thing you could do is probably convince Gary Lineker who you want. He's probably going to have more of a decision in who United's next boss is than anybody else. And I'm not even fucking kidding.
Gary Neville or Lineker?
Lineker.
Why?
Because he's fucking mates with Ed Woodward. And if you honestly don't believe that he would listen to Gary Lineker above anybody else, I'm certain of it. I'm certain if Gary Lineker was like, you should get Terry Venables in.
Woodward,
we'd interview him.
You start hearing rumours in the papers.
Yeah, like, I think he puts a lot of, because he's probably the only football friend he's got. Yeah. Realistically. So that's the level of incompetence we're at. We should have, like, if you was United, right, Joe, I'm Ed Woodward. Yeah. Don't hit me. Yeah. I'm giving you the United job. Yeah. You start on Monday. Yeah. Just to let you know, on Monday I'm going to start looking for your replacement. Yeah. How would you feel about that if I said that to you?
I think that's a bit harsh, but I do a good job.
But you think that a club could afford to be that open with him? Yeah. Or should afford to be that open with him? Because ultimately they need to do that.
Some managers, though, would just say, well, fuck you then. Jose would say, fuck you then. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, cool.
I think the thing is that has to be going on, but that's the thing. You either bring someone in now, and they've got 8 months of the season left, which is a long time. You can get to the point in 8 months, as we've seen with David Moyes, where the fans and everyone, you can have lost the dressing room in 8 months. We might get someone in now and have to sack him by the end of the season, or you get a caretaker in and you end up giving him the job if he does well, because we've seen that story before. Or you wait it out, and we might finish 6th this season under Ole, and we knew we should have got rid of him earlier. The thing is, it's a difficult decision, and it's not like it's.
And
look, not an
for everyone who's
answer.
going, just get rid of him and get anyone. That's not the answer.
That is not an answer. And again, as a fan, we can think that, but as the owners of the club and the people on the board, they need to be smarter than that. That's their job, and they get paid a fucking lot of money to be smarter than that. But they don't show any sign of being smarter than that, and that's the position we're in. It's difficult. Decisions have to be made, and they are difficult decisions. You're talking about the future of not just a football club, but from the way they see it,
again, this is
huge brand.
Being reactive,
they don't know how to do that.
Proactive.
Yeah,
being reactive rather than proactive. If you're a proactive club, like when Pep came to City, do you think they knew when they announced it? There was rumours before he went to Bayern Munich he was going to City.
Yeah.
That was a plan that they'd had for a long time.
Yeah.
When Tiki Pajirstein turns up, everyone was like, they're getting Pep then. Like, that was the whole move. Like, who's fucking John Murtaugh and Darren Fletcher's friends?
Yeah.
We're getting Charlie Adam in. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, who's the people that we're looking to bring in? And, you know, I do like that United have gone for what is a bit of an Ajax model and a Bayern Munich model. They're very well-run clubs, and you should look to emulate what they're doing. And we do have our own heroes and legends and people with serious football pedigree that you should lean on. I don't know if Darren Fletcher's that guy yet. None of us do, because he could be. We just haven't seen him doing the job just yet. But what Manchester City have done, and done it successfully well, is they've looked at who the best in the business was at the time, Barcelona. They've hired their guys, and they've built their club in that image, essentially. And also, you know, with $2.5 billion worth of oil money in there as well.
Yeah.
But they had a plan. Right or wrong, they had a plan. And they worked towards the end goal of that plan. Manchester United, if they have an emergency board meeting tomorrow, and they go, right, then what are we going to do? Which is fucking likely.
More than
that's
possible.
what they're probably going to say.
Yeah.
You know, do they ask Fergie? I'm pretty sure Fergie had his hands in the Solskjaer appointment pie. 3 years wasn't necessarily the worst run we've ever seen.
No.
Wasn't as good as what we hoped it could have been and wanted it to be, but it certainly wasn't the worst run we've ever seen. Certainly wasn't disastrous like Moyes was. Do they go back to Fergie and say, well, third time lucky, we'll fucking get it right? Or do you let Woodward choose? These are your options. Or it's down to Fletcher and Murtaugh to find that replacement. But the worry is there's not any sort of succession plan. Like, we haven't... I mean, I think they want Poch. And I don't know if he'd be like, yeah, fuck it, I can't win anything here, which is mad. At Paris, does he jump? Not that I'd want that, but is that what they're going to do?
Yeah.
Yo, who else out there ticks any of the boxes?
I know. There's not a lot. And again, how many managers in the world do you think are capable of beating not just one of, but all three of Tuchel, Klopp and Guardiola? That's a difficult job to do, and there aren't many managers capable of that. Yeah, we'll see. Right, that's going to be all from us. Big decisions need to be made, and the people making them aren't very good at making them. That's the position we're in, unfortunately, as a club. Manchester United 0, Manchester City 2. Thank you, Steve, for joining us. Thank you at home. Get your thoughts in the comments below. We'll see you in a bit.